Paige Bueckers finds herself in the same position as everybody else in the 2024 Women's NCAA Tournament, playing second fiddle to Caitlin Clark. While Clark is getting all the press, leading reports on ESPN, and being credited with revolutionizing women's basketball, Bueckers is writing another incredible chapter in her own story, one that could turn her into a household name of 2025. There's no shortage of discussion about how brilliant Bueckers is. In 2019, she was the most exciting prospect in women's basketball, and in 2021, she was one of the most hyped college players. Then crickets. Just as Bueckers was poised to take center stage alongside Clark and Angel Reese, arguably the two best known college basketball players in the country, a devastating injury took it away. Bueckers tore her ACL in a pickup game ahead of UConn's campaign, ending her 2022-2023 season before it began, and UConn's hopes along with it. The Huskies would limp into the NCAA tournament and lose in the Sweet 16, the first time in 15 years they failed to make the Final Four. Bueckers' absence was undoubtedly the reason for this. Monday night encapsulated the diverging paths that Bueckers and Clark have taken over the last 24 months. Iowa versus LSU captivated the sports world, with everyone clamoring to see who would prevail in a rematch of the 2023 national championship game, while Paige quietly carried the Huskies in a sensational game, which saw the guard finish with 28 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks, literally doing everything on the court for a team and bringing UConn back to the Final Four. It wasn't too long ago that all the spotlight was on Bueckers, with Clark being the overlooked player from the now legendary 2020 recruiting class. That class included players like Paige Bueckers, Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, Caitlin Clark, and Camila Cardoso. Both Bueckers and Clark had dreams of playing for UConn, as every woman in basketball did before the ascent of South Carolina and LSU. The issue was that Bueckers and Clark were too similar. Both were ball dominant, volume scoring guards who thrived being the focal point of offense, and Coach Gino knew there wasn't a scenario where they could thrive together. So in heartbreaking fashion for Clark, UConn essentially didn't try to recruit her at all, instead sinking their energy into Paige Bueckers. The lack of interest from UConn stung, honestly, she said. It was more I wanted them to recruit me to say than I got recruited. I loved UConn. I think they're the coolest place on earth, and I wanted to say I got recruited by them. They called my AAU coach a few times, but they never talked to me and my family. In 2019, Bueckers versus Clark wasn't really a discussion. Both were destined to be incredible players, but Bueckers had been gambling a level of hype unseen in years of NCAA women's basketball. As close to being a lock superstar as anything we've seen, people even noticed her brilliance as early as 6th grade. It's difficult to quantify just how bizarre it is that Bueckers has become the overlooked one in this equation. If anything, it's a testament to how mind-boggling Clark has been. After all, this season Bueckers has been absolutely cooking, and her efficiency has been incomprehensible. She's shooting 53% from the field, 42% from 3, with only 1.5 turnovers. They now meet again for the first time since their freshman seasons when UConn beat Iowa by 20 to advance to the Elite 8, despite Clark being the game's highest scorer. Paige Bueckers has asserted her dominance in the 2024 NCAA Women's Tournament, even while Clark has been the one getting all the hype. In 5 games, she's recorded 3 double-doubles, scored over 24 points in each of her games, and formed a deadly 1-2 punch with forward Aliyah Edwards to get UConn to this point. Now we all have the privilege of watching what we build as Caitlin versus Paige in the Final Four. Two similar players who have had wildly divergent paths since arriving at their respective schools. However, as much as we try to turn this into a boxing match between two star guards, it's really not. Will there be extra motivation for Clark to stick it to the school who didn't recruit her? Absolutely. Will Bueckers have a chip on her shoulder as she's witnessed Clark steal her stardom? To be sure. However, neither one of these two players exist in the same way without everything playing out exactly as it has, in the exact way it has. Paige Bueckers has basically gone through everything. 2 back-to-back ACL tears, and she is now in the Final Four, ready to cement her legacy. Caitlin Clark has been averaging almost 30 points per game and dropping 40 like it's nothing. This is Caitlin Clark's swan song. One final attempt to win an NCAA tournament with Iowa before leaving to become the #1 pick in the WNBA draft. Meanwhile, Bueckers has committed to stay, despite being a lock to be a top 3 pick herself, as she declared. Paige is prepped to take Clark's mantle and become the next household name in women's basketball, if she isn't already. That all starts on Friday night. Iowa vs UConn will be can't-miss television for sports fans. What a blessing it is to live in an era where women's basketball has never been better.